The corporate offices where I'm employed received a telephone call from a government agency wanting to know why I was getting involved in something that I shouldn't be.
For decades, Americans believed they were chasing aliens. This mystery fueled movies, conspiracies, and midnight radio shows. In 2025, the truth came out. What Area 51 was really hiding in the desert isn't just shocking, it's far more disturbing. Join us as we uncover the mysteries behind Area 51, the disinformation that fueled UFO mythology. For decades, the Pentagon intentionally promoted UFO myths to cover up secret weapons development programs, particularly at classified locations like Area 51. An investigation by the Wall Street Journal uncovered that military officials planted false evidence, including altered photographs, to distract from stealth aircraft testing. In one case, during the 1980s, an Air Force colonel provided fake flying saucer images to a bar owner close to Area 51. This hoax fueled speculation that the military was working on alien technology, while in reality they were conducting stealth fighter operations. A report mandated by Congress in 2024 from the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, found no credible evidence of alien spacecraft or reverse engineering programs. However, it also left out important findings that showed the military's involvement in spreading disinformation to the public. According to the journal, the Air Force advocated for the exclusion of sensitive information that could reveal classified programs or harm careers. The Defense Department now states that a second report, expected later in 2025, will include findings related to false documents and events that helped maintain the UFO narrative. Between 2010 and 2021, there were 58,676 reported UFO sightings across the United States. As part of classified program briefings, the military sometimes initiated new officers into what seemed to be a top-secret project called Yankee Blue, which claimed to involve reverse engineering alien technology. They presented officers with staged photos of flying saucers and required them to keep it a secret, often without disclosing the deception. What started as a loyalty test or a prank turned into a ritual that lasted for decades. Some officers took the story with them into retirement, sharing it even during official investigations. In 2023, AARO discovered this practice, leading the Secretary of Defense to send out a memo to put an end to it, labeling it as a type of hazing. AARO documented 757 sightings from May 2023 to May 2024, which is a significant increase compared to previous years. Investigators later found that most of these sightings were actually drones, birds, weather balloons, or reflections from satellites. Analysts concluded that a popular 2015 video, which showed a fast-moving sphere, was actually a misidentified object that was distorted due to the camera angle and the speed of a jet. Congress has been pushing for more transparency, creating a caucus to look into UAPs or unidentified anomalous phenomena. Lawmakers are now asking which agencies have been involved in efforts to retrieve crash sites. The Defense Department has stated that it will provide a follow-up report to explain how internal disinformation has influenced public and military views on extraterrestrial contact. The revelations about the Pentagon's intentional use of UFO myths to hide classified weapons programs highlight the impact of government disinformation on public beliefs and stress the ongoing need for transparency in military disclosures. The increasing demands from Congress and the public for accurate information on unidentified phenomena show a growing call for government accountability regarding both past and present military actions. The rise of UFO stories in military culture and among the public, stemming from deliberate deception and rituals, shows how myths about alien technology have continued to thrive because of secrecy and institutional habits. Local communities close to secretive locations like Area 51 were significantly affected by these disinformation campaigns, leading to a rich local folklore and tales about UFOs. Some residents have held onto their beliefs in alien activities for many years, while others feel skeptical or frustrated upon discovering that these myths were intentionally created by officials for reasons of national security. Since the beginning of the Cold War, the secrecy surrounding military advancements has provided a perfect environment for conspiracy theories to flourish. Historical research indicates that officials preferred the public to believe in alien encounters rather than risk exposing advancements in stealth technology or weaknesses in nuclear defense. thus reinforcing cultural themes of secrecy and mistrust. Recently, there have been changes in policy that lean towards more transparency. The Pentagon has promised a follow-up report that will reveal AARO's findings regarding pranks and false classified UFO information, suggesting a possible cultural shift in how national security is balanced with public disclosure. Nevertheless, past disinformation strategies still influence discussions about government transparency. Behind the web of lies stood a genuine facility, one the U.S. government refused to even acknowledge for decades. Let's find out what made it so secret. Officially acknowledged but restricted, the U.S. government has shared very little information about Area 51. The region around the lake is completely off-limits to both civilians and regular military air traffic. Security clearances are routinely checked. Cameras and weapons are prohibited. Even military pilots training in the NAFR could face disciplinary action if they enter the exclusionary box around Groom's airspace. Surveillance is enhanced with buried motion sensors. Area 51 is a frequent stop for Janet, a small fleet of passenger planes run by the Air Force to transport military personnel, mainly from Harry Reid International Airport. The United States Geological Survey, USGS topographic map for the area only displays the long-abandoned Groom mine, but USGS aerial photos of the site from 1959 and 1968 were made public. A civil aviation chart from the Nevada Department of Transportation indicates a large restricted area, which is part of the Nellis restricted airspace. The National Atlas marks the area as being within the Nellis Air Force Base. There are higher resolution and more recent images available from other satellite imagery providers, including Russian companies and Iconos. These images reveal runway markings, base facilities, aircraft, and vehicles. In 1998, the USAF officially confirmed the site's existence. On June 25, 2013, the CIA published an official history of the U-2 and Oxcart projects, which acknowledged that the U-2 was tested at Area 51 following a Freedom of Information Act request made in 2005 by Jeffrey T. Richelson from George Washington University's National Security Archive. This document includes many references to Area 51 and Groom Lake, along with a map of the area. Media reports indicated that the release of the CIA history was the first government acknowledgement of Area 51's existence. However, it was actually the first official recognition of specific activities at the site. In 1994, 5 unnamed civilian contractors, along with the widows of contractors Walter Kaza and Robert Frost, took legal action against the Air Force and the United States Environmental Protection Agency. They claimed that they were present when large amounts of unknown chemicals were burned in open pits and trenches at Groom. Biochemists from Rutgers University examined biopsies from the complainants and discovered high levels of dioxin, dibenzofuran, and trichloroethylene in their body fat. The complainants argued that they had suffered skin, liver, and respiratory injuries because of their work at Groom, which they believed contributed to the deaths of Frost and Kaza. The lawsuit aimed to get compensation for the injuries, asserting that the Air Force had mishandled toxic materials unlawfully and that the EPA had neglected its responsibility to enforce the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, which regulates the handling of hazardous materials. They also requested detailed information about the chemicals, hoping it would help with the medical treatment of the survivors. Congressman Lee Hamilton, who was the former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, told a reporter that the Air Force is classifying all information about Area 51 to protect themselves from a lawsuit. The government claimed state secrets privilege and asked the U.S. District Judge Philip Proh to prevent the release of classified documents or the examination of secret witnesses, arguing that it would jeopardize national security. Judge Proh dismissed the government's claim. In response, President Bill Clinton issued a presidential determination that exempted what was referred to as the Air Force's operating location near Groom Lake, Nevada, from environmental disclosure laws. As a result, the judge dismissed the lawsuit due to insufficient evidence. Jonathan Turley, the lawyer representing the plaintiffs, took his case to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit, arguing that the government was misusing its authority to classify information. Air Force Secretary Sheila E. Widnall submitted a brief stating that revealing the materials found in the air and water around Groom could expose military operational capabilities or the details of classified operations. The Ninth Circuit dismissed the appeal, and the U.S. Supreme Court declined to review it, effectively closing the case for the complainants. Every year, the President issues a determination that continues the groom exception, which is the only official acknowledgement that the government has ever made, indicating that Groom Lake is more than just another section of the Nellis complex. In 2005, an unclassified memo regarding the safe handling of F-117 Nighthawk materials was uploaded to an Air Force website. This memo discussed the same materials for which the complainants had sought information, which the government had previously claimed were classified. The memo was taken down shortly after journalists discovered it. In December 2007, pilots observed that the base had shown up in the latest revision of their Aircraft Navigation System's JEPISON database, identified by the ICAO airport code KXTA and labeled as Homey Airport. The likely accidental release of this airport information prompted the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, AOPA, to advise that student pilots should be specifically cautioned about KXTA. They were also advised not to use it as a waypoint or destination for any flight, even though it is now included in public navigation databases. The base's perimeter is outlined by orange posts and monitored by guards in white pickup trucks and camouflage uniforms. These guards are commonly known as camo dudes among enthusiasts. The guards won't respond to inquiries about who they work for. However, the New York Daily News suggests that they might be hired through a contractor like ECOM. Signs around the base perimeter warn that lethal force is permitted against trespassers. Technology plays a significant role in securing the base's border. This involves the use of surveillance cameras and motion detectors. Some of these detectors are set up at a distance from the base on public land to alert guards of anyone approaching. In January 2006, Dwayne A. Day published an article titled "Astronauts and Area 51, the Skylab Incident in the Space Review." This article was based on a memo from 1974 addressed to CIA Director William Colby by an unidentified CIA official. The memo stated that astronauts aboard Skylab had accidentally captured images of a specific location. There were clear instructions against doing this. It was the only site with such a directive. The name of the site was hidden, but the context led Day to think that it was Groom Lake. Day noted that the CIA viewed no other place on Earth as sensitive as Groom Lake. Even within the agency's National Photographic Interpretation Center, which dealt with classified reconnaissance satellite images, pictures of the site were taken off film rolls and kept separately because not all photo interpreters had the necessary security clearance for that information. The memo outlines discussions among federal agencies about whether the images should be classified, with Department of Defense agencies pushing for classification while NASA and the State Department opposed it. The memo also raises questions about the legality of retroactively classifying images that were previously unclassified. The memo has some handwritten notes, likely made by Director of Central Intelligence Colby. On January 28, 2019, a man who has not been identified drove past a security checkpoint close to Mercury, Nevada, seemingly trying to get into the base. Following an 8-mile chase by base security, the man got out of his car holding a cylindrical object and was shot and unalived by NNSS security officers and sheriff's deputies after he did not follow orders to stop. No other injuries were reported. Beyond these fences lies one of the most controversial and mysterious sites in American history, Area 51. Let's uncover its story. Shrouded in silence, home of America's deepest secrets. Area 51 is a remote base managed by Edwards Air Force Base. This facility is officially known as Homey Airport or Groom Lake, named after the salt flat next to its runway. While the specifics of its operations remain classified, the USAF claims it serves as an open training range, and it is widely believed to aid in the development and testing of experimental aircraft and weapons. The USAF and CIA took control of the site in 1955, mainly for flight tests of the Lockheed U-2 aircraft. All activities and research conducted in Area 51 are classified as top-secret sensitive compartmented information, TSSCI. The CIA confirmed the base's existence on June 25, 2013, through a Freedom of Information Act (FOIA) request made in 2005. They have released documents that outline its history and purpose. The extreme secrecy surrounding the base has led to numerous conspiracy theories and has made it a key part of UFO folklore. The area around it is a popular spot for tourists, including the small town of Rachel, located on the extraterrestrial highway. The origin of the name Area 51 is not entirely clear. It is thought to come from an Atomic Energy Commission numbering grid, even though it is not included in this system. It is next to Area 15. Another theory suggests that 51 was chosen because it was unlikely the AEC would use that number. According to the CIA, the official names for the facility are Homey Airport and Groom Lake, but the term Area 51 appeared in a CIA document during the Vietnam War. The facility has also been called Dreamland and Paradise Ranch, among other nicknames, with the former also serving as the approach control call sign for the area. The USAF Public Relations has described the facility as an operating location near Groom Dry Lake. The special airspace surrounding the field is known as Restricted Area. Lead and silver were found in the southern part of the Groom Range in 1884. An English company called Groom Lead Mines Limited funded the Conception Mines in the 1870s, which led to the district being named after Groom. Other nearby mines were called Maria, Willow, and White Lake. J.B. Osborne and his partners gained control of Groom, with Osborne's son taking over in the 1890s. Mining in the area continued until 1918, then picked up again after World War II until the early 1950s. The CIA created a test facility at Groom Lake to develop the Lockheed U-2 aircraft. Project director Richard M. Bissell Jr. needed a secret location for testing due to the project's sensitivity. He chose Groom Lake with Lockheed's approval. The location's lakebed and mountains provided ideal conditions for testing. The CIA requested the AEC to acquire the land and designate it as Area 51 within the Nevada test site. Johnson called the area Paradise Ranch to persuade workers to relocate to a remote new facility, later referred to as the Ranch. The name was eventually shortened to just the Ranch. In May 1955, a team marked out a 5,000-foot runway at Groom Lake and established a spot for a base support facility. At first, the ranch only had a few temporary shelters, workshops, and trailer homes for its small team. Within 3 months, the base had a single paved runway, 3 hangars, a control tower, and basic housing for test personnel. The base's amenities included a movie theater, volleyball court, mess hall, wells, and fuel storage tanks. By July, personnel from the CIA, Air Force, and Lockheed had started arriving. The ranch received its first U-2 aircraft delivery, with flights between Area 51 and Lockheed's office in California being scheduled. To maintain secrecy, employees flew to Nevada on Mondays and returned to California on Fridays. Area 51 has turned into a hotspot for today's conspiracy theories because of its mysterious vibe and ties to secret aircraft research. A lot of the theories focus on underground sites at Groom Lake or Papoose Lake, which is also called the S4 location, located 8 miles to the south. These theories include ideas about a transcontinental underground railroad, a vanishing airstrip known as the Cheshire Airstrip, named after the Cheshire Cat from Lewis Carroll's story that only shows up when water is sprayed on its hidden asphalt, and technology that is said to be based on alien inventions. Back in the mid-1950s, civilian planes were flying below 20,000 feet, while military planes could go up to 40,000 feet. The U-2 started flying at altitudes over 60,000 feet, and there were more and more reports of UFO sightings. Most of these sightings happened in the early evening when airline pilots heading west would see the U-2's shiny wings reflecting the sunset, making the plane look like it was on fire. Many of these reports were sent to the Air Force's Project Blue Book, which looked into UFO sightings, coming from air traffic controllers and letters sent to the government. The project reviewed flight records for the U-2 and later Oxcart to rule out most of the UFO reports it received during the late 1950s and 1960s, but it couldn't tell the letter writers the real story behind what they witnessed. Likewise, veterans from experimental programs like Oxcart at Area 51 believe that their activities unintentionally led to many UFO sightings and rumors. They think that these rumors helped keep the true operations of Area 51 a secret. The veterans deny that there is a large underground railroad system. On October 14, 1988, the televised program UFO Cover-Up Live was broadcasted nationally, introducing the American public to the majestic 12 hoax. This program marked the first time Nevada's Area 51 was publicly referenced as a location linked to extraterrestrial activities. Bob Lazar asserted that he had been employed at Area 51's Sector 4, S4, purportedly situated underground within the Papoose Range near Papoose Lake. He alleged that his contract involved working with alien spacecraft that the government had in its custody. Likewise, the documentary Dreamland, directed by Bruce Burgess, featured an interview with a mechanical engineer who claimed to have been a former employee at Area 51 during the 1950s. His assertions included having worked on a flying disc simulator that was based on a disc from a crashed extraterrestrial vehicle, which was utilized for pilot training. Additionally, he claimed to have collaborated with an extraterrestrial entity referred to as J-Rod, who was described as a telepathic translator. In 2004, Dan Burish, a pseudonym for Dan Crane, alleged that he had been involved in cloning alien viruses at Area 51, also in conjunction with the alien known as J-Rod. The legitimacy of Burish's academic qualifications has been widely questioned, as he was reportedly serving as a parole officer in Las Vegas while simultaneously pursuing a PhD at the State University of New York, SUNY. In July 2019, over 2 million individuals reacted to a satirical suggestion to invade Area 51, which was posted anonymously on Facebook. The event, planned for September 20, 2019, was promoted under the title Storm Area 51, They Can't Stop All of Us, with the intention of seeing them aliens. Air Force spokesperson Laura McAndrews stated that the government would discourage anyone from attempting to enter the area where we train American armed forces. 2 music festivals took place in rural Nevada, named Alien Stock and Storm Area 51 Base Camp, to take advantage of the buzz created by the original Facebook event. Between 1,500 and 3,000 attendees came to the festivals, and more than 150 individuals traveled several miles on bumpy roads to get close to the gates of Area 51. Reports indicate that 7 people were arrested during the event. Project Oxcart began in August 1959 to conduct studies on radar evasion, test the aerodynamic structure, and create engineering designs for the Lockheed A12 aircraft. The work involved testing at Groom Lake, where the facilities were limited with buildings for only 150 people, a 5,000 feet asphalt runway, and not enough fuel, hangar, and shop space. When construction started on a new runway at Groom Lake in September 1960 for A12 testing, the area received the nickname Area 51. Reynolds Electrical and Engineering Company, RECO, started building Project 51 on October 1, 1960, using 2 shifts for construction work. The company improved the basic facilities and constructed a new 10,000-foot runway on the southwest corner of the lakebed. They created an Archimedean spiral on the dry lakebed, spanning around 2 miles, to provide A12 pilots with an alternative landing spot if they were unable to stop in time at the end of the runway, preventing them from crashing into the sagebrush. This area was nicknamed The Hook by the pilots at Area 51. Additionally, they marked 2 dirt airstrips on the dry lakebed for crosswind landings. Construction of the necessary buildings was finished by August 1961. 3 surplus Navy hangars were put up on the north side of the base, while a new hangar, Hangar 7, was also built. The original U-2 hangars were changed into maintenance and machine shops. The main area of the base had workshops, storage and administration buildings, a commissary, a control tower, a fire station, and housing facilities. The Navy also provided over 130 surplus Babbitt duplex housing units for long-term living facilities. Older structures were fixed up and new facilities were built as needed. A reservoir pond surrounded by trees acted as a recreational area located 1 mile north of the base. Other recreational options included a gym, a movie theater, and a baseball field. By early 1962, a permanent aircraft fuel tank farm was built for the special JP-7 fuel needed by the A-12. 7 tanks were built, holding a total of 5 million liters. Security measures were increased for the arrival of Oxcart, and the small mine in the Groom Basin was shut down. In January 1962, the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, enlarged the restricted airspace around Groom Lake, making the lakebed the center of a 600-square-mile extension to the restricted area. The first A-12 test aircraft was secretly transported by truck from Burbank on February 26, 1962, and reached Groom Lake on February 28. After the incident involving Gary Powers' U-2 over the Soviet Union, there were multiple talks about using the A-12 Oxcart as an uncrewed drone aircraft. Even though Kelly Johnson began to support the idea of drone reconnaissance, he was against the creation of an A-12 drone, arguing that the aircraft was too big and complicated for such a change. In October 1962, the Air Force decided to fund research on a high-speed, high-altitude drone aircraft. This interest from the Air Force seemed to prompt the CIA to take action, leading to the project being named A12. By October 1963, the design for the drone was finalized. At the same time, the Q-12 got a new name. Lockheed completed the first D-21 in the spring of 1964. After 4 additional months of checkouts and static tests, the aircraft was sent to Groom Lake for reassembly. Throughout 1964 and 1965, various technical issues were tackled at Groom Lake. Captive flights revealed unexpected aerodynamic problems. By late January 1966, over a year after the first captive flight, everything appeared to be ready. The first D-21 launch took place on March 5, 1966, and it was a success, with the flight covering 120 miles on limited fuel. A second flight in April 1966 was also successful, with the drone flying 1,200 miles, reaching speeds of Mach 3.3 and an altitude of 90,000 feet. However, on July 30, 1966, an accident occurred during a planned checkout flight with a fully fueled D-21. After its separation, the drone experienced an unstart, leading to a collision with the M-21 launch aircraft. The 2 crew members ejected and landed in the ocean, 150 miles offshore. One was rescued by a helicopter, but the other, who survived the breakup and ejection, drowned when seawater filled his pressure suit. Kelly Johnson personally decided to cancel the entire program, as he had serious doubts about its feasibility from the beginning. Although several D-21 had already been made, instead of scrapping the whole project, Johnson suggested to the Air Force that they be launched from a B-52H bomber. By the end of summer 1967, the modifications for both the D-21 and the B-52HS were finished. This meant the test program could start up again. The test flights took place at Groom Lake, while the actual launches happened over the Pacific Ocean. The first D-21B to take flight was Article 501, which was the prototype. The initial attempt occurred on September 28, 1967, but it ended in total failure. The failure was found to be due to a stripped nut on the forward right attachment point of the pylon. Several more tests were conducted, but none were successful. Nevertheless, the resumption of D-21 tests happened during a time of changing reconnaissance needs. The A-12 had finally been cleared for deployment, and the SR-71 was about to take its place. At the same time, advancements in reconnaissance satellite technology were getting close to being operational. Until then, the small number of satellites limited coverage to just the Soviet Union. A new generation of reconnaissance satellites was on the verge of being able to cover targets anywhere in the world. These satellites would have a resolution similar to that of aircraft, but without any political risks. Time was running out for the tag board. Davis-Monthan is an open base, and at that time, public tours of the storage area were available, so the unusual-looking drones were quickly noticed, leading to photos appearing in magazines. For years, there was speculation about the D-21Bs within aviation communities, and it wasn't until 1982 that information about the tag board program was disclosed. Due to Area 51's fame linked to aliens and conspiracy theories, it has frequently been featured as a backdrop and theme in popular culture, particularly in science fiction stories that involve extraterrestrials. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.